but I mean...
And all of those kind of things.
The reason I wanted to nominate them was this isn't the first. There was West Yorkshire Police, who literally last week, I think we were talking on some show, that no white people to recruit. That was an absolute fact this week.
Flynn, bye.
Flynn, I gotcha. I gotcha, Flynn.
Gotcha. Proud of you, Flynn.
You said a moment ago that you're comparing adolescents with Casualty. These TV programs. Did you really mean to say that?
Telling me that I should go home and watch Netflix is you trying to tell me how to do.
Things are getting seriously strange in Britain. Have you noticed? Why is the police force recruiting people who can't speak English? Why are celebrities flying into space for fun while preaching about climate change? And why does Ed Miliband fly around the world for climate conferences while pushing net zero on the rest of us? People are starting to wonder, are our leaders more interested in headlines and diversity quotas than real solution? Something feels very off, and the public is getting tired of it. To know all about the situation, you have to stay tuned till the end. Let's start with the shocking story about Greater Manchester Police, who are now in the spotlight thanks to a whistleblower revealing some troubling details about how they're hiring new officers. GMP has a positive action team focused on increasing diversity in the force, which sounds fine on paper. But what they're doing in practice has people very worried. Officers were reportedly sent out to stand outside supermarkets, not high-end places, but budget stores like Lidl, approaching random people to recruit them. They weren't looking for experience, qualifications, or even a strong grasp of English. In fact, some of the people they took details from had no GCSEs and couldn't speak English properly. Now ask yourself this: how is someone supposed to do police work without understanding or speaking the language? Former police officer Peter Blexley called it out, saying how police officers need to be able to read the law, write clear and accurate statements, and understand what victims are telling them. Courtrooms like the Old Bailey don't have time for poorly written reports or unclear evidence. Back in Blexley's day, every officer had to be fluent in English just to get through basic training. So why is that not a requirement now? And this isn't a one-off. West Yorkshire Police recently caused outrage when it came out that they were excluding white applicants from recruitment rounds. Chief Constable John Robbins didn't deny it. He called it positive discrimination and is now pushing to change the law so police forces can legally do it. Many people are calling this reverse racism, and they're not wrong to question it. Shouldn't the best person for the job be hired, no matter their background? GMP is also facing embarrassment for having the highest number of officers testing positive for drugs like cocaine, and others being caught drunk behind the wheel. So, while they're busy trying to meet diversity targets, serious concerns about their standards and behavior are being pushed aside. At the same time, ordinary people are struggling with real crime. Shopkeepers complain that when someone steals from their store, especially if it's under 200 pounds, the police don't even bother to show up. So who are they really helping? And just when you think the madness couldn't go further, the BBC steps in with its own mess. During what should have been a serious political interview, Conservative MP Kemi Badenoch was grilled. Not about policies or the economy, but about a Netflix drama called Adolescence. Yes, really. BBC presenters Naga Munchetti and Charlie State spent nearly 8 minutes asking why Badenoch hadn't watched a show they wrongly called a documentary. They claimed the show raised important issues about smartphones and gender problems and seemed personally offended that Badenoch hadn't made time to watch it. Badenoch stood her ground, saying she doesn't need to watch Netflix to understand public issues. She reads and listens to what people are saying. She even compared it to watching casually to understand the NHS, which hit the point home perfectly. When they told her she should go home and watch the show, she didn't hold back. Telling me that I should go home and watch Netflix is you trying to tell me how to do my job. That line said it all. Instead of discussing serious national issues like crime, inflation, or immigration, the BBC focused on a fictional TV drama. Russell Quirk, a commentator on the segment, pointed out how disconnected the BBC has become. He said their way of thinking reflects on his LinkedIn elite mindset. one that ignores the real problems facing working-class communities across the country. He also didn't hold back about the irony of the BBC pushing Netflix content while being funded by the public, many of whom face legal action if they don't pay their TV license. Even worse, the show's behind-the-scenes problems became public. According to reports, the BBC presenters and producers barely speak to each other anymore, which might explain how such a chaotic and off-topic interview was allowed to happen. Katy Perry, Lauren Sanchez, and Gayle King made headlines recently after taking part in a Blue Origin spaceflight, jokingly nicknamed the Charlie's Angels mission. The three women suited up in matching tight blue jumpsuits and boarded a rocket that spent just 4 minutes in zero gravity. The flight, funded by Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, was promoted as some sort of empowering moment for women. Katy Perry even said it connected her with the divine feminine. But not everyone was impressed. Critics pointed out that none of the passengers did anything scientific. They weren't astronauts, just high-profile guests floating in space for publicity. The BBC called them the crew, which some found ridiculous considering they were really just along for the ride. And to make things worse, conspiracy theories started swirling almost immediately. Some viewers claimed it was all faked, pointing to the rocket door opening inward, something they say shouldn't be possible if it were a real space capsule. While most experts dismissed the idea of a full-on hoax, they agreed it felt more like a fancy private jet experience than a true space mission. Former detective Peter Blexley mocked the group for spending their limited zero-gravity time posing for pictures instead of soaking in the once-in-a-lifetime view. And then came the environmental backlash. Critics, including model Emilia Ratajkowski, slammed the group for the flight's massive carbon footprint. That criticism hit especially hard because Katy Perry often speaks about climate change, but now she's been called a hypocrite for taking part in a space stunt that burned through a shocking amount of fuel for just a few minutes in space. Even more eyebrows were raised when people noticed the flight's timing lined up perfectly with the launch of Perry's new tour, suggesting the space mission might have been more about promotion than personal growth. Some even joked that Bezos might have had a hidden motive for sending his partner Sanchez up, referencing his costly divorce that sliced his fortune in half. Meanwhile, Ed Miliband is under fire for being what some call the ultimate climate hypocrite. Despite his role as energy secretary and his loud support for zero-gravity policies, his personal carbon footprint is reportedly 12 times higher than the average UK citizen's. Has been jetting around the world to attend climate talks in New York, Washington, and even plans to return to Brazil, always with a team of civil servants to tow. Critics are asking why he doesn't just use video calls like everyone else, especially when the whole point of these trips is to fight climate change. In a twist that left many stunned, building the road to the Brazil conference site required cutting down parts of the Amazon rainforest. An ironic move that had many calling it nonsense. Things got even more awkward for Miliband when he sat through a House of Commons debate where the government defended using coal to keep British steel running, something that flies in the face of his net zero goals. He quietly left the room early and later claimed that the UK's green policies were going great, a comment that sparked disbelief from many who feel the country is facing far more pressing issues. Some pointed out that the UK only contributes 1% to global carbon emissions, yet ordinary people are being told to cut back while major polluters like China go unchallenged. Miliband's recent £2.6 million plan to put solar panels on 200 school roofs with Sadiq Khan was also criticized as poorly thought out, especially since it relies heavily on sunlight and the UK's weather isn't exactly sunny year-round. British politics and media were thrown into another heated storm as Jonathan Reynolds, the Business and Trade Secretary, came under serious fire. Critics accused him of pretending to have legal experience he didn't actually possess, dubbing him a fake solicitor. Things got worse when Reynolds struggled to explain how the government plans to keep British Steel's furnaces running. Instead of giving clear answers, he dodged key questions, saying details were being kept secret for commercial reasons. That raised alarms as it left people wondering if Britain's steel industry might be on the brink of a major collapse. Angela Rayner tried to calm concerns by saying British steel was safe thanks to military contracts and cost-cutting plans. But the panel didn't buy it. They called her comments clueless and pointed out that Labour is already dealing with a £22 billion funding gap. All of this painted a picture of a party that seems more focused on vague promises than real economic solutions. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court made headlines by ruling that trans women are not legally women. This followed a legal challenge against the Scottish government brought by a group of Scottish women. The decision came as a major setback for high-profile supporters of gender self-identification, including Keir Starmer, Nicola Sturgeon, Ed Davey, and celebrities like Emma Watson, Rupert Grint, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Trevor Noah. Presenter Mike Graham didn't hold back, celebrating the ruling as a win for what he called common sense. For many on the panel, the ruling highlighted growing frustration with political and cultural elites who they believe are pushing policies that don't reflect public opinion. The discussion then took a sharp turn toward what panelists called a bigger cultural split. According to them, decision-makers and media figures in elite circles, especially those in London, are totally out of touch with everyday people. They slammed the BBC for being more concerned with Netflix-style programming and identify politics than with rising knife crime, broken public services, or real threats like terrorism. Great Manchester Police and West Yorkshire Police were also singled out for focusing more on diversity check boxes than hiring qualified officers. This was called out as a dangerous game that puts public safety at risk just to look politically correct. The panel said ordinary people across Britain are sick of being ignored while their daily struggles are brushed aside by politicians and the media. Katy Perry also got caught in the criticism. Her recent Blue Origin spaceflight with Lauren Sanchez and Gayle King sparked huge backlash. Although the trip was marketed as a celebration of women and empowerment, people questioned the point of it, especially with no science involved and a major carbon footprint left behind. Some even said it looked more like a flashy PR stunt. Critics brought up the irony that Perry often speaks about climate change, yet joined a mission that burned an enormous amount of fuel for just 4 minutes of weightlessness. The panel joked that her real goal might have been to get publicity ahead of her new tour, not to make any serious statement. Back in politics, Labour leader Keir Starmer was quietly pulled into the mess through his ties with people like Miliband and Reynolds. Starmer's critics argued he's too scared to challenge them because they have strong support from the party's far left wing. But this fear of internal backlash could be hurting Labour's credibility, especially when the economy is in crisis and people are looking for real leadership. Miliband's extreme net zero policies and Reynolds' lack of answers on steel only add to the problem, making the party look more focused on ideological dreams than fixing what's broken. What are your views on this? Do let us know in the comments section below, and for more such amazing videos, do subscribe to our channel.